What's up? I'm Troubleshoot. It's Thursday, the 18th of September. Let's quickly speak about this week's brand new Rust skins, check them out in game, and have a look online to make some wild speculations about what might happen to their prices in the future. Let's begin. This week we've got these here 10 new items. We've got 3 clothes, the Cyberjacket for $2, gold chain boots as well, and the Brony Roadsign gloves for just $1. Then 4 weapons, the Feral Raw AR, $2.50, Chameleon DBS, same price, $3 No Mercy M39, and $2 Dominus Mortis, Thompson. Finally, 3 buildables, the Oasis Furnace and small diesel box for $1.50. Finally, the Sinotype Sulfur box for $2.50. So, without further ado, let's check all of these out in-game. Starting off at the very top with wearables. We've equipped everything here, but we're looking in particular in the Cyberjacket. Over here, we previously had a couple of other cyber armor pieces and things like that coming together. I'm pretty sure this is part of the same set. It's just not named as nicely as the Sinotype set, No Mercy, etc. It's just the Cyber set, I would assume. But ultimately, this skin is a pretty sick looking Cybertruck sort of themed inspired kind of skin. Let's just drop those. That does actually look pretty cool. These little plates of metal strewn across this jacket really come together to give it this futuristic, really metal sort of look that I definitely do like a whole lot. If you're a fan of how the Cybertruck looks, for example, this thing does look pretty cool with its smooth but deliberate edges and the bits of metal and things like that. It's overall a pretty cool looking jacket skin. Something even cooler are the Brony Roadsign gloves. These absolutely metal hardcore gloves are definitely something you can show off to your intense 20-player clanmates to flex in massive raids and things like that. These definitely very tough, manly Roadsign gloves are very pink and do stand out a whole lot. I'm pretty sure the front side is a bit more purple than the back in terms of fabric, but really all the detail comes down to this over-the-top, girly, decorated Roadsign glove bits. That's very unique in its own ways. It does say raid down at the very bottom. I don't know. I'm kind of speechless in terms of this. They do have little buttons with skulls and things like that across them, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's kind of all over the place and for what it is. But obviously there's a certain demographic that is gonna love how this thing looks in Rust, and well, I don't blame you. Finally, moving down a bit further, we've got these, which are the gold chain boots for $2. These obviously continue the gold chain set that we've had thus far. You can see a gold chain spread across the sole of the boot, with the toe cap at the very front being this very shiny gold material, with the rest of the shoe being this plasticky looking, I guess, tiger pattern, something along those lines, with another gold chain at the very back. If you're flexing a I'm rich skin, this is probably a pretty good one to have and add to your collection to flex your in-game wealth while you're roaming around and dominating your server. It's definitely very orange and it won't be winning any stealth awards as you'd expect, but if you're wearing these, you're wearing them to flex the items in your base rather than wearing them for stealth. As for how these things all come together at nighttime, are they visible at all? Well, if we flick over to night, you'll see that everything vanishes exactly as you'd hope, which is fantastic. There's no glowing, no emissions, nothing like that. When you wear these skins, you'll be pretty much invisible. In terms of, well, no light emissions, that is. With wearables out of the way, let's quickly flick over to the weapons that we have this week, for which there are 4, starting off at the very top with the Feral Raw AK-47. This beautiful red beast is a fantastic looking skin featuring this very ferocious bear on the side of it. It's much more of a lighter pinky looking red than a dark crimson-y kind of red. It's pretty cool looking. Maybe I'm just skewed with the very distracting gloves that we're wearing here, but overall it is a pretty cool, gory looking red skin with this really cool bear artwork on the side of it, and of course at the very front, these little claw marks which also appear down here on the magazine. A nice little small touch. Not to mention, right over here on the stock, we've got a couple more claw marks there. If we flick over to first person, this is what we're looking at here. Very similar to third person, nothing too crazy going on either side. It's pretty much the same on both sides. I don't think anything's missing. And of course, scoping in, there's nothing too crazy going on here. We've got some teeth at the very back from the bear. compared to the usual AK. Nothing seems to be missing, which is nice. It's a standard stock vanilla AK long variant that feels very vanilla in terms of everything attached to it. Nothing taken away, which is nice to see. Moving on from here, the Chameleon double barrel is this very shiny, greeny, purpley kind of look that changes as you move around it. It's definitely the shiniest skin that we have this week. And of course, if you're collecting similar looking Chameleon skins where they've got this, I'd like to say pearlescent or luminescent, something along those lines, kind of paint, super shiny, super obvious, and of course it's just the same over everywhere with just these outlines of important bits on the double barrel. Nothing too crazy going on here. Obviously, scoping in, again, nothing's missing here. It's just a stock standard double barrel that's been painted to look a little bit different. Relatively cool, nothing too crazy going on though. Then, the Dominus Mortis Thompson is continuing the Dominus Mortis set, which we did see the other week with the last edition there. And again, if you liked how that thing looks, this is a very similar edition. We've got the same or very similar skulls strewn across it, more golden barbed wire, things like that. It's a really cool looking skin. I personally love how this thing looks. I'm pretty sure the last Dominus Mortis weapon skin we saw coming out didn't do too well, but we'll check on that in just a moment. Overall, I really like how these skins look, and it's just a bit unfortunate that things didn't go too well with the previous skin in this collection, but maybe I'm wrong, maybe things have changed. We'll find out in just a bit. Flicking over to first person again, nothing crazy is missing here. Versus the stock standard Tommy, it's just a regular repaint, which is nice to see. Then finally, expanding on the No Mercy set, we've got the No Mercy M39. This very large, clean, black and white beast has the same comfortable padding of the No Mercy set with this very clean, sleek looking white and black color or paint theme that goes really well with anything really. If you're growing your No Mercy kit, this is obviously a no-brainer. Otherwise, let's have a look at prices in just a second. Again, flicking over to first person, there's nothing crazy happening here, which is nice to see. Compared to the usual M39, literally nothing seems to be missing, which is great. If we flick over to nighttime for all of these weapon skins, starting off with the double barrel, there's no emissions here, and scoping in, it's very difficult to see what's going on. Moving on to the Dominus Mortis Thompson, again, here's the scope, nothing too crazy, nothing obvious, paints it onto the front, so it's very difficult to line up your shots other than the back iron sight V. The double barrel also doesn't have any super obvious paint, which is sad to see. Then the Feral AR, again, nothing too crazy going on here. The front iron sight could have been made white or something obvious to make it a bit easier to use at night, but again, it's more of a vanilla AR experience. Finally, the No Mercy M39 is white on most of the skin, meaning that just by, I guess, chance, or it's definitely on purpose, the iron sight is very easy to see as it's a super bright white, which is great to see. Obviously, none of these skins have any emissions of any kind, so they all vanish away perfectly at nighttime, which is great. Finally, moving on from here, we've got a couple of buildables left, which if we chuck them down are as follows. Starting off with the Oasis Furnace for $1.50. We've seen the Oasis door previously, and I think maybe a couple of other Oasis skins. This skin is very similar to those in that we have the same metally mosaic kind of artwork strewn across it. This Egyptian kind of inspired artwork, I would think, does look really cool with lots of mysterious ancient writing and things like that. And if you're a fan of building bases in the desert, it might be a pretty cool addition to your Adobe themed base, etc. Ultimately, it follows with the existing theme really well, and it does look super clean continuing that theme. Then moving on to the small diesel box. Previously, last week, we had another themed small box that looked like it could appear on the large oil rig, and of course this is yet another one. We've got a flammable logo, a water icon or diesel icon on the side with diesel written on the top. Again, could be a fuel can of sorts, although it's a storage box. If you're doing oil rig a lot or just want to organize diesel and crude oil, stuff like that, this might be a pretty cool addition to your base, especially if you're playing on modded servers where you've got lots of this lying around that you happen to use often, or of course you're playing in a large Zerg, etc. Things like that. Organization, up to this level of detail could be really useful, and obviously this could have quite a bit of a niche carved out for it, and that is made for one item, and it should be probably the first of its kind. I don't think we have another diesel specific item, which is pretty cool to see. Then finally, the Sinotype Sulfur box. Obviously, as you'd expect, you already know what the Sinotype set is, and this is yet another addition. The same glow in the dark, the same colors, textures, etc. On the side, you can see that we have Sulf and UR written next to it, so you can easily tell what it is from the side. It's not just some Eastern writing, although something a bit different this time. We've obviously got a chemistry flask over there, but on the top and the front, we instead have this molecular structure of sorts. Why the camera is not focusing, I have no idea. This molecular structure of sorts, I'm not entirely too sure what it is. Man, I remember having to learn about how to draw similar things and whatever in school. I cannot remember anything about it though, so obviously this doesn't mean very much to me. It does look very scientific, I guess. I'm not too sure if it's accurate for whatever it is. Maybe it's a gunpowder or something along those lines. Obviously, it'd be a bit difficult to represent just sort of a powder on the box. It could just be a pile of yellow sand, but here at least it sort of, I guess, maybe means something a bit more. Maybe not. Do let me know what you think down below. This is more of a abstract representation of what it is, instead of just putting a picture of a weapon on a weapons box, for example. And obviously, I completely missed this. If we flick over to nighttime for the furnace here, you can see that by default, nothing happens here. Obviously, nothing's lit up inside of it, but if we place some wood inside and hit go, all of these stars and the eye at the front illuminates, which is pretty cool. It's very creative. I like how the thing looks. It's definitely going to fit in very well with the other Oasis items, but obviously, I don't think things are doing too well there. We'll see where things are in just a second for this collection. But yeah, and with that, we've really covered everything this week. So without further ado, let's go ahead and flick over to a website where we can check out existing items, similar items and sets and things like that, so we can speculate about where prices may go in the future. That being said, I'm no oracle, I can't see into the future, and if you're planning on buying Rust skins, buy them to play with instead of hopefully flipping them for a profit in the future. These are just my wild guesstimations based on similar looking skins, similar collections, and things like that, so take from it as you will, and of course, do your own research. So with that being said, let's have a look at the market. Having a look at Rust help for this week's items, we can already see off the top how many times each of these have sold. That's how it's sorted, and obviously, as you know, the Sinotype Sulfur box is topping the charts in terms of how many times it's been purchased, at around 3,300 times already, just in, I think, maybe 3 hours of this becoming available, which is interesting to see. As usual, if we flick over to the entire Sinotype collection, obviously the most recent items in the collection have lost a little bit of their value, as they tend to do, but usually they do go up quite a bit as more of these are purchased. Obviously, the much older ones are worth quite a bit more. Ultimately, I'm collecting the Sinotype set simply because I'll actually be using it in-game. It's a lot cheaper than other sets that we've seen thus far, and again, you can see that this molecule icon on the top of it is very different and a very abstract way of representing what's put inside of it compared to these other items over here, which is very interesting to see. I'll be buying it to actually use it, but do let me know down below if you'll be continuing the Sinotype purchase streak. Then the small diesel box is surprisingly all the way up here. Again, it has its own niche use, and it's the first of its kind as far as I can tell. 2,300 minimum sales, and again, checking it out, it's not in a collection, but I'm pretty sure the same person who made this. Do we have it linked here? We do. Magwomp. Having a look at last week's small fuel box, which did pretty well in terms of sales. This was created by the same person, so I guess it's a continuation of the set, which is nice to see. Obviously, putting crude oil and low-grade fuel inside of the fuel box. The small diesel box is obviously just going to be used for diesel. There's going to be far less use for it in that you're not going to be collecting as much diesel as you would other items, but again, it's a hyper niche item. If we have a look at the small fuel box from last week, I think it's just gone on sale, so it's probably going to be quite inflated. It's currently at $394, but of course this may drop in the near future as more items go on sale, as this just went on sale. That being said, overall I see some pretty good things for people who actually buy skins to play with them. These are great additions. As for where price may go in the future, we haven't seen too much on last week's small fuel box. I would keep your eye on this if you're interested in a slightly more accurate guesstimation of what might happen to the small diesel box this week. Then the Dominus Mortis Thompson surprisingly is all the way up here. It is a really cool looking skin with 1,300 sales, which is just under or about half of the small diesel box and probably about a third of the Sinotype Sulfur box. The skin is obviously part of the Dominus Mortis collection, but again, it hasn't been doing too well, and that's very apparent here. If it sells anywhere near as many as these previous few items, you could probably pick it up just after this weekend's for quite a lower price, which is sad to say, but it is a pretty cool looking skin. Then the Cyberjacket, 1,217 sales, is part of a cyber set. You can see that we've got the armor over here, pants, hoodie, and boots, even a backpack. The Cyberjacket is the latest addition here. Overall, it's hit and miss with quite a few of these surprisingly losing a lot of their value. I guess it's sort of a discount blackout skin, at least somewhat, although it's a bit too shiny and silvery to be that really. If you like how the skin looks, get it. Otherwise, it's sort of a 50-50 of whether it might go up or down, which is very difficult to tell. Then moving on to the Oasis Furnace, this does actually have a glowing effect. It is part of an Oasis collection, as you can see here, and the latest edition, which was a sheet metal double door, has actually gone up quite a bit in value, which is nice to see, but overall this collection has lost quite a bit, which is sad to see, and I assume this furnace is likely going to go the same way. The No Mercy M39 is joining again the long-running No Mercy set. Here, quite a bit of this has gone up. In fact, most of this has gone up, except for a few of these weapons and tools. The No Mercy rocket launcher went down quite a bit, shotgun, backpack, hatchet, and pickaxe. Most of these much older No Mercy skins have seen quite a rise in price. Most of them are wearables, with weapons being a more likely miss than a hit. And just based off of that alone, I'd probably say this M39 is going to follow in the same tracks and maybe not make as much back in the future. Then the Feral Roar AR isn't joining a set of any kind, which is pretty cool to see. On the workshop page, you can see some artwork for how this thing was made. Definitely nice to see. And also released from this creator, if we sort by, or rather look for accepted, you can see they made the Final Flight garage door, Nuke Vibe sheet metal door, obviously the Nuke Vibe garage door as well. Very nice to see that they have another addition into the game. I really like how it looks. Obviously though, it's very difficult to tell where the price will go in the future. Assault rifle skins have more often than not resulted in quite a big loss, as most of these skins lose a ton of their value, so things aren't looking too good for that, which is rather sad. Then the Chameleon double barrel is joining a Chameleon set, which is equally as shiny, and nothing here has really done too well at all, so obviously I'd assume that this is probably going to follow very quickly in the same footsteps. Then the Brony Roadsign gloves I don't think is part of a set. Oh, it is. Well, there you go. I'm pretty sure these are much older skins, hence they've raised quite a bit in value, but I would assume if these sell equally as few, supply and demand, things might be looking pretty good for this in the future. It's definitely far less faded than any of these other items here, which is interesting to see, but if you're collecting cutesy fart things, you'll probably be purchasing this anyways. Finally, the gold chain boots are the least well-selling items this week at around just about 500. I see I didn't even mention these previous ones here. Most of them are around 1,200, 1,100 here. So the Cyberjacket, Furnace, No Mercy M39, and Feral Roar AR, the Chameleon Double Barrel 960, Brony Roadsign gloves 930, and the gold chain boots at just under, at around half of that at 543. These gold chain boots are joining a gold chain collection, though everything here isn't doing so gold, it's in the red. Unless this somehow follows in the same footsteps as the gold chain leather gloves here, which I don't think they will, things don't look too good. And with that, we've really covered everything this week, so do let me know if you found this video interesting. Thank you for watching, mine's been Troubleshoot, and I'll see you all again next week. Do let me know what you're getting down below, I'm very interested. I'll see you all next time. Ciao.